Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 8th of October. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined by Jonny McFarlane this Friday morning. Jonny, how are we doing?
It's good. If I can fix my mic, I'll be happy. But at the moment, I'm struggling with that. No, I'm good. Looking forward to another day's chat about Rangers. Obviously, we're in day 5 of International Week now. My hair's not completely grey yet, but it's well on the way. So, could do with some decent news to get our teeth into. But obviously, that's going to be a few days away yet.
Yeah, it's another day closer to Rangers back in action, which is good news. Just a reminder, folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, just to hit the subscribe button. It means that you'll never miss a video. You'll get a notification to your electronic device, and we've got that fantastic offer still on at the moment for the Rangers Review website. It's only £1 a month for the first 2 months to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. A couple of talking points to get our teeth stuck into. And remember, if you've got any questions, folks, then fire them into the comments section, and me and Jonny will do our best to answer them as best we can. James Strachan has got in touch from down under. Hi, James. Thanks for your company as ever. Let's touch on the first talking point then, Jonny. It's reports linking Steven Gerrard with Newcastle United, who are now the richest club on the planet. Big takeover, of course, that went through yesterday. The Geordie fans are absolutely ecstatic at not seeing Mike Ashley involved with their club anymore. And Steven Gerrard has been linked with the possible manager's job there. What do we make of it?
Well, I think it's important to say, first of all, it's bookies' odds that are tumbling. And that can be a number of things. For example, if one guy goes into a bookie and throws £100 out of nowhere on Steven Gerrard, it will shift his odds across the country. So it's not like huge amounts of money need to be changing hands for this to happen. So while the bookies often get it right, there's very few people that have met a poverty-stricken bookie. I think it needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, and the reports are just reports on movement in terms of the numbers at the bookies. So I've not seen any actual tangible reports. However, I do believe that if Newcastle are looking for a high-profile, young, high-quality manager, then Steven Gerrard would clearly be the kind of person that you would imagine they would be looking at. I don't think it's a massive stretch to see why a Gerrard figure, with his profile, with his gravitas, would be a target for a team like Newcastle, who are looking to build something in the long term with serious money behind them. However, there's a few things that I would caveat that with. Number one, Derek, Steven Gerrard has never left the club mid-season in his entire career. So I think the notion that Newcastle are going to swoop in, grab Steven Gerrard, and he's going to be happy to agree a move right now, I find that a little fanciful. There's nothing in his career that suggests he would do that. He's built a brand on loyalty, and I don't think many people take that more seriously than Steven Gerrard himself. If you've watched the documentary on Amazon Prime about, I think it's called Make Me Believe or something like that, I can't remember off the top of my head. The entirety of that documentary is about why it's important that he showed loyalty throughout his career and what that means and why that sets him apart. So I just can't see him with his messianic, I can't even say that word. The way he's held by Rangers fans and the way he purports himself and the way he sees his own self-image, I can't see him leaving Rangers in a mid-season. I don't think that would happen. I think Brendan Rodgers, for example, doing that with Celtic as a completely different type of character with a completely different personal brand. So I think one of the posters they're saying about Steven Gerrard not leaving unless it's Liverpool, and I'm not sure that's true, because, you know, if a Man United come in, obviously Gerrard's not going to go to Manchester United because of Liverpool, but if a big English club comes in at the end of a season, then it's potentially a different story. But I don't think I have any concerns about Steven Gerrard departing now. I don't know what you think, Derek.
Yeah, good morning to Martin getting in touch, and Alex Campbell as well. Great sight, guys. Thanks. Good to have you along with us, Alex. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it was always going to happen when the takeover was complete. Of course, he's been linked with Newcastle before. Of course, they're just like you say, they're just bookies and rumours. And I think Alan Brazil was winding up Alan McCoy on TalkSport yesterday on it, and I think it grows arms and legs from there. To be honest, and no disrespect to Steven Gerrard, who is an icon, of course. His achievement last season was terrific, but Newcastle United are now the richest club in the world. They can go out and get the best manager on the planet. They can get Pep Guardiola if they want, or Jurgen Klopp. They can try and get him and throw all sorts of money at him. They're now shopping in a different supermarket than any other football club. So I think they're going to go for someone with more experience, someone with a track record, like an Antonio Conte perhaps, or I've seen Roberto Mancini touted for the position as well. I think it's going to be someone box office like that has that track record of the Premier League. But yeah, I could see the attraction of Steven Gerrard as well if you're the Newcastle owners. It's an exciting time, of course, for them. I see supporters are wanting Mbappe and all that sort of stuff, and Neymar to join them, but it beggars belief from where Newcastle were yesterday to where they are now. It's mind blowing.
Well, Derek, we're old enough to remember Robinho pitching up at Manchester City when the notion of that was absolutely unimaginable. I remember, it was literally the takeover from Citigroup happened, and then within a week or so, Robinho was pitching up, and it's the biggest story in world football. So I don't think it's impossible. Listen, money talks. For me, though, the one thing that you're seeing lots of at the moment is the negativity surrounding the Saudi Arabia Investment Fund and their links to the Saudi government, which are irrefutable. And obviously the human rights record of that government and the issues with Khashoggi, the journalist who was murdered, I think in the Istanbul embassy, and people are rightly getting on their moral high horse about this, and I think they will want to immediately try and shift that narrative on, and one way they could do that is by bringing in someone with a sort of global heft in terms of their perception, their standards, the way they're seen. And there's few people better than that than Steven Gerrard. Gerrard, I think as Graham Hanna's saying there, it's Gerrard will leave one day. There's no doubt about that. And it's very, very important that there is continuity for Rangers when that happens. But I think it's very, very early days to be talking about that. I suppose what we're saying, Derek, is we can see the attraction for Newcastle. You can see the attraction for Gerrard, because if he gets told he's got a £500 million budget every season, then Newcastle are not going to be the Newcastle as we've known them for very long, are they? Let's be honest, they'll shoot up that table. I know what you're saying about Conte and a high-profile manager. I don't think Guardiola or Klopp are going anywhere.
No,
but
that's the sort of calibre managers they can now get.
But
money is no object.
They've got to understand where they are, and if you want to build something for the future, then you maybe go and get the best young manager out there. I think Nagelsmann's gone already, isn't he, to Bayern Munich? So, there's not a great amount of candidates out there, and surely Gerrard, with the level of CV that he has as a player, with the respect that he's held in across the world, is a worldwide name, would make him of interest. But as I say, to go back to the very start, Derek, because we talked about this now for 9 or 10 minutes. This is bookies odds. So all of this just has to be taken with a little Salt Bay.
Ian Murray's getting in touch. Newcastle in a relegation battle. I'm not sure Gerrard's the right man for them at this time. A lot of we get in touch with regards to that. James says, I don't think he'll manage it against Liverpool. He may go to Germany, France. I don't think he'll go abroad, James, to be honest with you. I think his next move will be Liverpool when that time comes. And it is, like Graham Hanna says, all about continuity, and hopefully Rangers will have right replacement should that day come.
Well, on that, Derek,
at...
just before we move on, I think this is the right man in the director of football chair, or the sporting director chair at the moment. Ross Wilson did a magnificent job when it came to switching out managers at Southampton. They've had nothing but success going back to Maurizio Pochettino. Remember, was it Nigel Atkins that was there before Pochettino?
Yes.
Everyone was saying that was a ridiculous move. The English press were in unison saying, what are Southampton thinking? And from that point on, they've had a succession of really, really good managers. Hasenhüttl, he is a top-class manager there at Southampton. Now, Southampton might not be terrific at the moment, but if you watch how they play, how they're coached, he's getting the most out of those players down there, or has been over the last few years. And I think he's destined for bigger things. And Ross Wilson was instrumental in bringing him in. I think Ross Wilson, if he's tasked with bringing in whoever's to replace Steven Gerrard at some point in the future, I think Rangers have got the right man in place to make sure that that's a sensible, clever appointment and a good transition from one to the other. I don't think he'll be going for someone who, for example, will have a completely different style to Gerrard, because we in the media think Jack Ross is a good appointment. That's not going to happen with Ross Wilson. He'll have a list of candidates that exactly fit the squad that is already in place. It won't be a move to a long ball football manager after this, for example, or a tiki-taka football manager. It will be someone who's got a lot of the same principles as Gerrard, because football clubs now are smart and they understand that level of continuity is required to make the most out of your squad and to make the most out of the potential transfer values of the squad. There's no point in going and getting a Sam Allardyce for Rangers.
Yeah.
When you have Joe Aribo and you have Yanis Hadji and you have Ryan Kent and you have all these ballers in central midfield who are great at passing the ball. But there's just no point in going to do that. That makes absolutely no sense at all. You still hear people in our industry talking about stuff like that, but it's a pretty archaic point of view.
Yeah, I absolutely love this comment that has just come in from Martin Sutherland. Russell Martin will be on that list. Now, tell you what, try and detract the player of Russell Martin, who was a decent player before he came to Rangers. Never quite worked, of course, when he came up here. But as a manager, he's making quite an impression. Of course, he's at MK Dons, now at Swansea City, and he's doing really well. And yeah, he's an up and coming manager that certainly I think that Ross Wilson will be keeping an eye on for sure.
Yeah, let's not mess about. He was beeping awful at Rangers. He was awful. He was dreadful. And he was a right back who became a centre back, but never looked that comfortable in centre back, I don't think. I think he played all right there for Scotland in the odd game, but at Rangers it just didn't work out. But I've read a number of interviews with him. He's a really interesting guy, very into his diet. I think he's a vegan, isn't he? So very intelligent guy, really forward thinking, big on data and analysis and things like that. So I think he'd be one that the Rangers would have their eye on. But at the same time, Derek, I've got to be honest, I don't envy what Ross Wilson will have to do when he comes to replacing Steven Gerrard, because I go back to this, and I say this all the time on the video, right? Because it just left an indelible impression on me at the time. When Celtic were going through that period up to the point of Brendan Rodgers leaving, I knew that Rangers would come back. Not because, not from a fan point of view, but from a journalistic point of view, because I just felt that people were missing this idea of a glass ceiling, Derek. You cannot replace Kieran Tierney like for like. You cannot replace Stuart Armstrong like for like. I've talked to this about this with you before. Rangers can't replace Ryan Kent for like. There's a glass ceiling on what you can do like for like. And Steven Gerrard is exactly that. You're not going to be able to go and get a Steven Gerrard. It is a fluke that Steven Gerrard turned out to be the manager that he's turned out to be. In a sense that there's so many reasons why it could have gone wrong. There's so many reasons why it might not have worked, the transition from elite player to manager. But because it's worked, because he's got that great backroom staff around him, not only are you getting a guy who's tactically astute, who's got a good record in terms of signings, but you're getting Steven Gerrard, what he's learned as a media operator, what he's learned as a club ambassador. So you're getting a guy who's working on an absolutely elite level on a number of areas when he comes in. I think Rangers were aware of that, and that's not a fluke at all. That was obviously a big attraction of bringing him in. He'd been England captain, he'd been Liverpool captain, Champions League winner, brand ambassador, for a large portion of his career. He knows how to handle himself. But the big question mark was on the football stuff. But he's proved that he can do that. But it's very, very difficult if you go and pluck a Russell Martin out just for argument's sake. I think a lot of the fans might be a little underwhelmed with that compared to Steven Gerrard, because you're replacing a global icon with someone who's done quite well at MK Dons and seems to be on the rise at Swansea. It's just not the same. Rangers managed it when they went from Souness to Smith. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer lies already within the management team.
Yeah, well, that's what James has says. Well, and we've got a great article on the website on Michael Beale. A lot of people, a lot of supporters have said, have sort of said, would he take the top job at some point? Maybe even if it's not at Rangers, at some other club. And I think that is the pathway he's going to go down, Michael Beale. There's
so many parallels with Souness and Gerrard.
Yeah,
and I've always wondered if there's going to be parallels with Beale and Smith, because you look at Walter Smith's career, right? Dundee United, obviously at a period of unbelievable success that falls apart, Derek, the minute Walter Smith leaves. Because Walter Smith was not only a tactical brain, but he's a manager of world-class repute. And that allowed Jim McLean to sort of get away with his worst excesses. I think when Souness came in, he's not the man he is today, for example. He's a hothead. He was trigger happy. His man management wasn't terrific. Had Walter Smith there. So it's no surprise that these two revolutions in Scottish football were underpinned not by the front man, but perhaps by the man behind. And Walter Smith came in and brought that to the fore as a front man, as a manager. The question is, could Michael Beale do the same thing? The other question would be, would he want to? Because he's often said how happy he is with Steven Gerrard as part of that management team. And I think the prospect of managing at a truly elite level as a coach, being at the very, very top of the game, would be very attractive. But then I think at the same time, the offer to be a Rangers manager would be pretty damn attractive. But I don't think Michael Beale, if he was offered the Rangers job should Gerrard depart, would suffer from the same thing as I described there with Russell Martin. I don't think so. I think Rangers fans would be really, really happy if that was the case. I'm pretty sure right now, if we had a poll or asked the people watching who they would want to be the next manager of Rangers after Steven Gerrard, Michael Beale would be at the top.
Yeah, it's funny. Robert gets in touch. You forget about Gary Mack, of course. He says he thinks McAllister will be the next Rangers manager. Perhaps, of course, he took over for those couple of games when Gerrard was down out with COVID, of course. That's an interesting shout as well. You don't really hear his name mentioned by supporters, but he has been a manager before, of course. Johnny, not really successful. Let's be honest. I think he was at Leeds and Coventry, wasn't he? But that's it. I think he's certainly conducted himself well when asked earlier on in the campaign.
He's like Gerrard in that he's a great media operator. He's very calm. He doesn't make any slip-ups. He's a really safe hand on the tiller. And as you say, Derek, and maybe I'm not being fair because I think he did brilliantly well in Alashkert and against Celtic. And maybe it's just a perception thing, but my perception is that Michael Beale would be a better fit for that role.
Yeah, but again, it's all hypothetical stuff. We all hope that Steven Gerrard will be at Rangers for a very long time, of course. But yeah, we're just covering those reports linking Gerrard with Newcastle United following the takeover yesterday. I think that'll do us there, Johnny. Just a little plug for it. We've got a great article on the website this morning that Joshua has done on Joe Rothwell. Rangers have been linked with the Blackburn Rovers midfielder. So Joshua has done a scouting report for us on him and what Rangers could expect if they were to go and pluck him from Blackburn Rovers. Yep.
Is that a player that you've seen, mate?
I can't say I have, no. I've not, to be honest, I've not really seen Blackburn down here. It's not a team I see very often. So I can't say
your anti-Blackburn agenda coming to the fore? Are you going to be trolled by Blackburn Rovers supporters about this?
Well, there is that rivalry, of course, with Bolton Wanderers. But no, to be honest, I've not seen them in the last few years, so I can't really give any decent comment on him. But by all accounts, he seems like a decent player and the sort of player that Rangers should be looking at. So it'll be interesting to see how that one progresses. But yeah, fantastic article on the website, folks. I do recommend you go and check it out. And remember, we've got a great offer on just now, just £1 a month for the first 2 months to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. And remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and you'll never miss a video. We'll be back tomorrow. I was going to say back tomorrow. It's the weekend tomorrow, so we'll be back on Monday. But until then, enjoy your weekend.